And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Once again, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here once again here on this December 29th, Football Friday. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, it is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that, let's get right into what we were going to talk about. So we're going to recap last night's game between the Jets and the Browns. Then we will preview all the games for this weekend, as well as the college games that are on Monday. The college football playoff is on Monday. Washington and Texas, Alabama and Michigan. So we'll preview those as well. That'll be in the final part of the show to go along with the late window games in the NFL. So yeah, that's what we will talk about today. Got wrapped up with the baseball show a little while ago. So this will be the final football show of 2023. As it's obviously New Year's Eve, New Year's Day weekend. So yeah, that's what's on tap for today. So let's get right into the first topic, which is discussing last night's game between the Jets and the Browns. So this game actually was pretty high scoring. Thought the under was going to come into play, but that wasn't the case. The final score ended up being 37-20. Now, most of the points were scored in the first half. There was only 6 points scored in the second half, each team kicking a field goal in the fourth quarter. Yeah, the defense is kind of, shut the opposing offenses down in the second half. But yeah, it got off to a roaring start. So you had the Browns on their first drive going down the field and scoring a touchdown. They went 7 plays, 75 yards. Joe Flacco connected with David Njoku a couple of times, 36 yards on a 3rd and 15. Then he connected with him for a 28-yard reception. And then Flacco hit Jerome Ford for a 7-yard touchdown. So that put the Browns up 7-0. And I honestly didn't think the Jets were really going to do anything offensively. Well, they didn't in the second half, but yeah, they responded. They went 6 plays, 75 yards, 3 minutes, 4 seconds of time of possession down the field. Garrett Wilson had a 22-yard reception. Breece Hall had a 25-yard run. And then Trevor Siemian connected with Breece Hall for a 21-yard touchdown. So the game was tied. And I was thinking, oh, this isn't good. But then the Browns, they answered 7 plays, 75 yards down the field. And Kareem Hunt scored a 7-yard touchdown. Riley Patterson missed the extra point, obviously filling in for Dustin Hopkins, who was out for this game. So, yeah. And then the Browns, they actually recovered a muffed kickoff for the Jets, and they went for it on down, and they went for it on 4th down, and they turned it over. So the Jets lucked out. But then Trevor Siemian threw a pick 6. So that made it 20-7. Then the Jets punted. The Browns actually then there were a lot of turnovers in this game. The Browns fumbled. The Jets didn't turn it into anything. David Njoku fumbled. C.J. Mosley knocked it out. Jets punted. Then the Browns turned that into a touchdown. Flacco connected with Elijah Moore for an 8-yard touchdown. Then the Jets punted. Then Flacco threw a pick 6. He double pump faked it. Threw it, got batted up in the air, and it was picked off by Jermaine Johnson, who took it back for 37 yards. So that made it 27-14. But then the Browns, they scored a touchdown. Flacco connecting with Jerome Ford. It was a 50-yard touchdown pass. But yeah, Flacco rolled. It looked like Flacco got face masked on the play, but then he was able to roll out, threw it to Jerome Ford, and Jerome Ford did the rest. So yeah, that put them up 34-14. Then the Jets kicked the field goal at the end of the first half, and like I said, both teams kicked field goals in the fourth quarter. Only 6 points were scored in the second half. As for the team stats, so Trevor Siemian went 32 of 45, 261 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The Jets ran the ball for 107 yards in total. Breece Hall ran the ball for 84 yards. He had a receiving touchdown. He had 9 receptions for 42 yards and a touchdown. Garrett Wilson was their leading receiver, 5 receptions for 50 yards. Tyler Conklin had 5 for 45. And then as for the Browns, Joe Flacco, he had 296 passing yards in the first half. He finished 19 of 29, 309 yards passing, 3 touchdowns and a pick. Obviously, the pick 6 that was taken back by Jermaine Johnson. Jerome Ford, 64 yards rushing. Kareem Hunt, 31 yards rushing. Pierre Strong had 29 yards rushing. David Njoku, again, continues to, be productive with Joe Flacco. 6 receptions for 134 yards. Elijah Moore had 5 for 61 and a touchdown. Jerome Ford had 2 for 57 and 2 touchdowns. Jordan Akins had 1 for 28. But yeah, I mean, the Browns, with this win, they clinched the playoffs. So they're in 11-5 on the season. The Jets dropped to 6-10. So many turnovers in this game, though. So Trevor Siemian threw a pick. Jermaine Johnson had an interception in the game off of Flacco. I mean, it's just their rookie running back, Abenaconda. I can't pronounce that name. Abenaconda. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. That was better. I think that was on the kickoff. Flacco threw a pick. Njoku lost a fumble. Pierre Strong lost a fumble in this game. Yeah, there was just a lot of turnovers. Ronnie Hickman, he had the pick 6, of course. So yeah, there was so many turnovers in this game. The Jets had their opportunities, but they just couldn't capitalize on some of the Browns' mistakes. Abenaconda, that's how you pronounce it. I was trying to remember because obviously he was kind of the number 2 back last night. I mean they just don't even use Dalvin Cook anymore, the Jets. So thankfully I redeemed myself with the pronunciation there. But as for the Browns, they're in the playoffs, and again, my one concern, and it happened last night, was on that pick 6. Flacco, throwing that pick 6. If they could play mistake-free football, this team is going to be a tough team to knock out. It really is. And I was surprised Flacco can move around a little bit, because especially on that scramble when he hit Jerome Ford for the touchdown. So it's not like he's. Again, he's still kind of a statue, but still, like, he's able to move out of the pocket a little bit, and extend plays. So. Listen, this team is good, and then they were without Amari Cooper. I didn't realize that Amari Cooper, he was ruled out, but I thought I didn't realize he was, in jeopardy of not playing, and he didn't. And I thought once he was ruled out, I'm like, oh no, that's not good. How is Flacco going to be without him? And Flacco was still good. Had a very good first half. Second half, not so much. They were playing. They were never really in jeopardy in this game. Again, the Jets' offense didn't do anything. The Jets' offense went right down the field on the first drive and, again, capitalized on mistakes. The pick 6, that helped. But, when the Browns turned the ball over, a couple more times, the Njoku fumble, Pierre Strong fumble, they couldn't capitalize on that. Browns are 11-5. They're basically locked into the 5th seed. They're not going to catch the Ravens unless the Ravens, I guess if the Ravens lost their last 2, then, maybe, but no, the Browns, how funny would that be if the Browns somehow got I don't think it's possible, but they just end up getting the 1 seed. But yeah, I don't think it's possible that can happen. But yeah, they're basically the 5th seed. They look like they're going to be playing the Jags in the first round, or whoever wins the AFC South. So you like where they're at. With the amount of injuries that they've had and what they've been able to do, especially at the quarterback position. Flacco, he's been good. He's been good, and he's in a good situation. And I continue to say that. This is going to be a tough out. Whoever has to go up against this team in the playoffs, it's going to be really tough to beat them. I think the Browns could beat anybody. Again, the one thing that concerns me, of course, is, is Flacco turning the ball over, but they got a good defense, good weapons. I mean, this team is going to be tough to beat. I don't think they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but they definitely have a shot to do it because they have a quarterback that's done it many times. And Flacco's best has come in the postseason. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see what happens. But it's definitely it is a great story. I don't know how many times I have to continue to say that. And he was able to do it without Amari Cooper last night. And Jerome Ford was running the football well too. He's definitely a nice backup to have with Nick Chubb being hurt. Obviously, bringing back Kareem Hunt wasn't a bad move either. But Jerome Ford, it looks like he'll be the backup. Next year when Chubb comes back. He's a solid backup. And he was pretty solid last night. Also with the Jets. I mean, last week they had a solid first half, their defense, and the second half not so much. Then it was like the opposite. Bad first half, solid second half. Is the Jets defense overrated? Because I just, they were getting shredded to start the game last night. I mean, 3rd and 15, and Njoku's wide open. He gets a first down. Njoku was killing it in the first half. I mean, him and Flacco have really, developed a nice connection. But that's Njoku's ceiling is get him the ball, and he's gonna make the play, and he's gonna make plays. I guess with the quarterback troubles that he's dealt with over the course of his career, he hasn't had consistency at that position. Now you got Flacco in there, and he looks amazing. He looks like one of the best tight ends in the NFL right now. What he's been able to do. But Jets defense, was just getting shredded. They got shredded by Jacoby Brissett last week. They were getting shredded by Flacco in the first half. I think the Jets defense is still good, but maybe it's not as good as I think we gave them credit for, because these last 2 weeks have been. Again, maybe it's just because the season's kind of over. So, but I don't know. But yeah, Browns, they're in the playoffs, first time in a couple of years. So, we'll see how it goes. But they're going to be a tough out. So, with that, we will now take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we will preview tomorrow night's game, actually, between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys, a big game in the NFC. So we will preview that when we come back from our first break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.